Welcome back, folks. The S&P has hit records again. Since 1950, only 4 times has this occurred in August during a presidential election, and every time it resulted in a landslide. The question is, how distorted is this stock market? Donald J. Trump wants a sovereign fund for infrastructure spending. Sounds good, but would it work? So, Maury, since 1950, I think it was Art Cashin that came out with this.
Well, who was a very competent
Yeah.
man in the industry.
And these are facts. In an election year, only 4 times has the stock market hit records in August, and every single time that election turned out to be a landslide. Eisenhower, Nixon, Reagan, and Clinton. How much do you believe in that, and how much do you think this stock market is really being propped up, and how realistic is it right now?
Well, first of all, these statistics don't mean anything. They really don't. I mean, there's no relationship between a landslide election and a landslide in stock market pricing. But on the other hand, what people don't understand is that if you talk about...
And let me just throw this in as well. I don't mean
Sure.
to interrupt you, but how much does a positive stock market matter to the incumbent party versus a crashing stock market or a problem in the stock market?
Well, no question, if there's a stock market disaster, it hurts
The incumbents.
very much, or those, and it helps those that are trying to replace the incumbent.
Kind of what happened to Bush in 2008.
Yeah.
Well, I mean McCain, but it was Bush going out the door.
I think that's a good example, that because McCain wasn't that good a candidate anyway. But
And he was ahead.
Well, he was ahead a little bit, but the point was there was already a rumble. We got to have a black man in the White House for the first time. You know, you had a lot of interest, and the excitement.
And the piranha and the media went just reckless on
yeah,
Sarah Palin.
First of all, there was a deal cut between Hillary and Obama that was...
And the puppet master.
Yeah, yes, no question about it, that George Soros was the guy behind it. He financed the deal that allowed Obama to take over. You know, if you look at Obama's background, he had no background at all in the political scene. He was a state senator, then suddenly he became
half-term senator,
then a U.S. senator, and suddenly the guy comes up, all based on a speech that he made in the year 2004. When this creep, who is now the Secretary of State, Kerry, was the nominee of the Democratic Party. And Obama comes up and makes a speech, and he sounds articulate. And even Teddy Kennedy said, someday this man will become president of the United States. He was talking sometimes very much in the future. He wasn't talking 4 years from that. And
let's get back to the stock market. How realistic do you believe this market is right now?
it's not realistic for the simple reason that it's the same as a dot-com markets were at the turn of the century, when anything that had .com after on the NASDAQ, you know, the NASDAQ doubled. Unbelievable, because most of these stocks that didn't offer anything, they offered a name. They were going to make something out of nothing, and it crashed. What you've got now is the Standard & Poor's, the S&P stocks. A lot of those are technology stocks. They're way out of proportion. The trouble with these indexes, they're not based on segments.
Healthcare, energy, tech.
An Apple, Amazon, Facebook. These huge companies today, these multi-billion companies who came out of nowhere, and not to demean them, but they have now developed a unbelievable segment of the total picture. They're way out of proportion. And so, and there's one other thing. The investors in this country are not the ones that are making the stock market anymore, it's the traders. The frivolity of the market today is based on the fact that traders are working on 24 hours, 36 hours, selling short, buying short. They're not investors. They see an opportunity to make money. They hear...
They're flippers.
Well, take a look at right now. Oil is starting to come back as we speak because there's a strong rumor, which, by the way, is based on fact, based on my context, that Russia and Saudi Arabia are going to make a deal as far as putting a cap on production. Well, they are the two largest producers, they and the United States. The United States, nobody matters anymore because Russia and Saudi Arabia knows they got Obama eating out of their hand, and he wouldn't dare interfere with what they're going to do. So if they say, okay, we're going to cut our production 10%, and we're going to be sure it's going to be followed through, then you're going to see oil back up around $60.
Is that what you expect?
I expect the very fact that it has gone up as much as it has in the last 10 days would indicate that the traders put a lot of faith behind this happening, yes.
Now, Trump made a recent speech where he talked about infrastructure and infrastructure spending, which we talked about in the first segment, which was a boondoggle the first time around with the Obama administration. He wants to do a sovereign wealth fund where average investors, average folks can put money in, and that would go towards the bridges, the railroads, the grid. How likely is that?
I will tell you that...
and how would you make money on that if that's what you did?
Well, first of all, it's ridiculous. I mean, the thing is, we desperately need an upgrading of our overall infrastructure. It hasn't really been upgraded since the Eisenhower years. And Eisenhower did it because we were in the middle of a Cold War and we knew we might have to fight a two-front war. That's why he did it. He did it for military purposes. But the point is that this idea of a sovereign wealth fund here for the United States has so many other ways of making money. If we would take EPA and send it over to Moscow where it belongs and cut out all these restrictions on fossil fuels, and not try to destroy the coal industry, which is still one of the biggest fossil fuels in the world as a whole, that's one thing that you can be sure that Hillary's going to do. She's going to shut down all the coal mines. You need a sovereign wealth fund for that.
You know what I was interested to find out? Wyoming is the largest producer of coal in the United States.
Wyoming?
Wyoming.
I thought Montana was, but I'll take your word for it.
Interesting point.
Yeah.
So Trump's also talked about bringing up spending on other things like technology and airport security and that kind of thing. How would an investor make money if that's what if they were putting it in as an investment? If you're spending it on infrastructure.
Look at what happened to the government support of solar power. Almost every one of the organizations that were backed by the government gone bankrupt because the people that are running organizations on behalf of the government are incompetent and inconsequential and don't know how to run their business. Just like people.
And when you can print your own dollars, you don't have to make a profit.
Well, that's exactly right. That's exactly correct. I'm going back to the $1 trillion that Congress voted in 2009 after Obama was inaugurated for the purpose of that money going into infrastructure. He had no intention. He wanted to be the guy that brought Obamacare to this country.
And the unions had to be taken care of.
That's why he was so anxious to get Rahm Emanuel as his chief of staff, because he knew his brother was a genius when it came to develop the medical technology. The whole thing was a put-up job.
Yeah.
When we elected Obama, we elected the arch crook of the United States.
Soon to be followed up by only one person that could top him.